Today, I'm in good company with the Honorable Mary Ng, Canada's former Minister of Export Promotion, International Trade and Economic Development, and a champion of inclusive growth and women's entrepreneurship. Throughout her career, from her early days in education and public service to the federal cabinet table, Mary has been a steadfast advocate for innovation, small business owners, and fostering global relationships. She represents the very best of modern Canadian leadership, empathetic, forward-looking, and deeply committed to empowering others. Mary, it's a pleasure to have you today on the show to discuss what it means to lead with purpose and possibility. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jay. It's great to be here. It's nice to see you in person, and it's so good to have this conversation. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, I'm so thankful that you're here and that we can do this in person, because there's lots of virtual, and virtual is great, but it's nice to be with a friend.
Yep.
In good company.
Yeah, in good company.
And I wanted to say, you've been a public servant for quite some time, and you're now retired from federal politics. You've dedicated your career to public service and economic development, and I want to hear what inspired you to go down this path.
Yeah, that's a really good question. At the heart of it, I'll start here and I'll end here. It's about people. It's about Canadians. Something you may not know, your listeners may not know. I actually started my career in banking, finance. I worked on Bay Street. I, for an investment house at one of the, major banks. Very, very early. It was my first and second job.
Amazing.
And very early on, I just discovered it's really great. It's great to find success there. But I got this job in the summer. It was a summer where I was planning to head to school in the fall, and it was a summer job, and it was for the Ontario government.
Oh, there you go.
And it was, I would say, an experience that changed my life because it put me on the trajectory of doing public service. When I was there in the summer, I learned that the provincial government looks after things like the healthcare of our system, so hospitals and doctors and nurses, the whole healthcare system. They also looked after education. It's about people. So I pretty much fell in love with it right away, and it really just set a course for me, which was really in service of people. And throughout my career, that's where I have found myself, including, most recently in elected office and having the privilege to serve as a Canadian cabinet minister. But that was the journey.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I've known you since before you were in elected office. And when you became a member of parliament, it was through a by-election. And something I've noticed, there are two things I'll tell you that I noticed about you as a politician. First of all, you always circled back to your constituents. Yep. You were really proud to be the MP for Markham Thornhill.
Yep.
And I sticks in my head every time you were speaking on behalf of Canadians, you were also speaking on behalf of your constituents, which is amazing. And the second thing that I know that this happened, but when you became an MP, but I think also when you became a minister, you really gave it a shot at French.
Yes.
I feel like you must have been taking lessons and working on that's incredible, because lots of Canadian politicians will become ministers and they have a little bit of French, but I can tell you really did a lot.
Canada is a country of two official languages. And as an MP, you're right. I loved being an MP. I loved representing the people of Markham Thornhill. They're the people who send me to Ottawa to be their voice. So I never forgot that. And it's really important. And I have this incredible riding too, with just amazing, amazing people in it. So not only as an MP did I think was my responsibility to also try to learn and I hope attain some fluency in the French language. I'm sad to say that learning another language is actually quite hard. So attaining fluency is hard. But I did give it my best shot. And certainly as a minister, you represent all Canadians, including les belles provinces Quebec, right?
Absolument.
Or Franco-Canadians, Acadians. Franco-Ontarians, and so it was really, really enjoyable. I wish I got greater fluency, but now perhaps in political retirement, I have a little bit more time to take French lessons.
No, it's super admirable. I think it's awesome. But I want to know, because how long was it into your tenure that you became a cabinet minister? What, like a year, 2 years?
A little over a year.
Yeah.
And it was really great because as a MP, you learn how to do your very best
Yeah.
representing the voices and the people in your riding. Like, I mean, Markham Thornhill is a technology hub, right? I mean, it has
Mhm.
everything from IBM to Qualcomm to semiconductor firms to,
Wow.
right? I mean, and all these incredible small businesses and all the people, which is a very, and it's in that riding was very diverse. So it was great to learn to be a really good MP,
Yeah.
which also means serving on committees of parliament, which
Right.
I really enjoyed. And committees of parliament, you are working from, with other MPs from all sides of the house.
Yeah.
So it was my opportunity to really learn how to be a really good parliamentarian. So I relish the year-ish that I had as an MP before, before being asked to serve in cabinet.
And so tell me about when you were asked to serve in cabinet, because what an honor that is. It's a privilege, but it's a great responsibility, and I know you really wanna do your country proud. So tell me about that specific moment. What was that like?
Well, I got a call, and the call was, "We would like you to come and have a meeting with the prime minister." And you never really quite know what the meeting is about.
Right.
You always relish in the opportunity whenever you have it to have, one-on-one time with the prime minister. He's a pretty busy person. All
Yeah.
prime ministers are.
Just a
Um
little bit.
yeah, right? So it was terrific. I went to the prime minister's office and, sits you down. His, chief advisors are there, so the chief of staff and the principal secretary at the time. And he said, "I would like you to serve in my cabinet, and I want you to serve as the Canadian Minister for Small Business and Export Promotion." So that was my first cabinet
Yeah.
post. It was wonderful. I hugged him so hard, I'm pretty sure that I practically broke his ribs.
Yeah.
Although, hard to do with Justin Trudeau,
Yeah.
um, um, but it was really an honor of a lifetime because I'm also a kid of immigrants.
Right.
I was born in Hong Kong. I came to this country, um, and when my family immigrated to this country, there was another Trudeau as the prime minister,
Right.
Trudeau Senior, Pierre Trudeau, and to think that decades down the road, here I am, not only serving Canada and my constituents, but having the opportunity to be at the decision-making table that is cabinet. It really was an honor of a lifetime, and I had just so much fun in the job.
Yeah.
I loved every minute of it,
I
every
could
single minute.
tell, even as an outsider looking in, I
Yeah,
could tell every time you were speaking, either in the house or you were doing media or you were doing an event, like you were just having the best time. Yeah, I could
yeah,
tell you loved your job because there
yeah.
are people in elected office who you look and it could depend on who it
Mm.
is, but they look like they're having a terrible time. They're
Well,
like either stressed or, they're getting hit at so many different angles, but some people look miserable.
that is the truth. It is, I mean, it can be stressful.
Yeah.
You try to do your best job all the time, and even as you do your best job all the time, you don't always satisfy everybody, right? But I think it's about the attitude that you bring into the job.
Yeah.
And I had a great portfolio. I mean, I grew up in a small business in Canada. I remember what it was like for my parents when, in their restaurant. I worked in their restaurant,
Amazing.
and so so having the opportunity to actually serve Canada with that file was super cool.
Totally.
It was super cool.
Hey guys, I want to talk to you about a Canadian brand near and dear to my heart, Kits Eye Care. They're the best. These are my Dodger sport glasses from Kits. I wear them every single day. They were $78 and they offer prescriptions. They direct bill your insurance. Best part of all, they're a Canadian born and bred brand out of Vancouver, BC, my hometown. I love them so much, and sunglasses too. Well, I'm sure that being a daughter of
Yeah.
immigrants and being in Canada, that must resonate with so many of your constituents, with Canadians. So it's nice. I mean, a lot of people we're in the bubble.
Yeah.
So we know what it means when
Yeah.
you're asked to be a minister, when you're, running a by-election, but the average Canadian, a lot of them will just see people who are appointed to cabinet and they're just like, "Oh, this is the Minister of Finance now. They're doing their thing. This is the Minister of Foreign Affairs. She's doing her thing." And it's like, it's important for people to know that a cabinet minister has the experience,
Mhm.
both professionally, but also personally. So certainly that must have been amazing to have that file as your first one and to
Well,
build on it.
really, and that is true. But I would also say that when it became, it was always real. But when it, but the story I always remember from my time, particularly in small business, was during the pandemic, right?
Oh my gosh.
Because here is the world closing down. Canada is not different. And in my home office, I had, I still do. It's a big sort of a big picture on my wall that was the menu of my dad in my dad's
Oh
restaurant.
my
So it would be,
gosh.
$4.95, sweet and sour chicken balls
Oh my
and chicken
gosh.
fried rice,
I
and
love it.
and the specials, right?
Yeah.
And I remember looking at that, and I remember reflecting on the responsibility. And it was our responsibility at the time to make sure that the Canadian economy wasn't going to be scarred. And when 99% of your businesses in Canada are small and medium sized businesses, what happens to them when they have to close
Right.
overnight? What happens to their staff? What happens to the rent or the mortgage that they have to pay? What happens to
That
the
they have to
bills that they
pay.
have to pay?
Right.
So that became very real for me because in my mind, I thought, if this happened when I was growing up, my parents would have to close the restaurant. What do we do with the takeout driver? What do we do with the
Yeah.
chef? What do you do with them? I mean, they have families to raise as well. There's a mortgage on your building.
Yeah.
Who pays for that when there's no more revenue coming in the form of customers? I always considered my job from a very practical point of view. But part of being practical was I was very proud of always having an open door, right?
Yeah.
And being able to listen to those Canadians, and in this case, businesses that were directly affected, and
Yeah.
hearing from them what were those pain points? What is it that they needed, and what is it that they needed from their government in order to get through? In that case, it was the pandemic. In later years, it was how do I help Canadian businesses grow by not just growing in Canada, but growing into the world where there are these incredible markets? How do I take them on
Yeah.
trade missions, and how do I help them be more
Share
successful?
their stories and their
Exactly. And open
experiences.
the doors for them. I mean,
Expansion. Yeah.
in markets around the world, right? So it was really just um, a wonderful opportunity to always stay connected
Yeah.
to Canadians and stakeholders, and I would also say colleague MPs, right? I mean,
Yeah.
my colleagues are from around the country, right? I mean, colleagues from the Yukon, colleagues from from the provinces,
West
from West
Coast.
Coast, from what, and from the East Coast, from Quebec, and the issues are different
Yeah.
depending on where you are in the country,
Well,
potentially. So making sure that you're also ears to the ground in terms of having good relationships with your
Yeah.
colleagues
That's so
was also really
important.
important
And
too.
I think as an outsider looking in, you can tell who is and who isn't connected to their constituents and the people they represent around the
Yeah.
world. But it goes back to, you're serving people
Yeah,
and politics is about people. And
absolutely.
when I had Cheryl Hickey
Yeah.
on, she was talking about the pandemic and, running ET Canada from
Yeah.
her backyard, basically.
Yeah.
And her thoughts were about her viewers, about her team, about her family. And it just goes to show that people, at the end of the day, everyone's in their own life. They're doing their very best and focused on what's around them. Another thing is that it's so refreshing to hear this perspective, which I don't think that this perspective for you would be any different whether you were a sitting member or retired from
Mhm.
politics. But it goes to show that, you know, I think there's a lot of vitriol and a lot of hatred and a lot of nastiness with regards to politics nowadays, and criticism I support.
Mhm.
I encourage. I think it's so important to have a
Absolutely.
dialogue.
In a democracy, of
But
course,
it's like
differences of opinions are
100%.
good.
But I think people need to remember that it's like, even if, you're a conservative or you're a liberal or you have a different political viewpoint, it's not like you are the minister of export promotion and you're going in every day like, how can I make export? How can I de-export? How can we lower exports? How can I
Mhm.
do the worst job
Yeah.
for Canadians?
Yeah.
Like, you have to understand that people are just doing their best with
Yeah.
what's in front of them.
Yeah.
I think that's
Well,
important.
you and I talked about this before we started the podcast today. I love that you're doing this podcast, and I love that it is about In Good Company, because I think today more than ever, it's really important for us to remind each other that we're all Canadians. And what we're
Yes.
trying to do is we're rowing in the same direction. We're
Yeah.
trying to make sure that we are building an even stronger country every single day and that we all have a part in it. And my view always was, look, when I was sitting in Parliament, there were 338 of us in Parliament.
Right.
Every single one of us were given the opportunity by the people who elected us
Yeah.
there. So we are legitimate, period, full stop, because our constituents voted and the voters in our ridings elected us to be there. So when you're there, we aspire to do the very best for the people we serve, and
Absolutely.
we aspire to do the very best for the country. So I do think that the negativity, as you said, the vitriol, it doesn't have a place. It should not have a place in
I
Canadian
agree.
politics. What should have is vigorous debate.
Yeah.
There's no problem having to be able to debate vigorously, disagree vigorously. That's what's wonderful about
100%.
democracy. I mean, debate it out. Put your arguments forward. Let's have those conversations, but they can be done respectfully.
Absolutely.
They can be done without hate, right?
I
And
agree.
we're there to serve people. And in a democracy, guess what? If you don't like it, you have a choice
Yeah. You can make your
at the
voice
ballot
heard.
box,
Exactly.
right? The next time you're there.
100%. And
Yeah.
and you just got to work towards whatever you want to see out of your country. But I agree. I think what we need to do is bring back a semblance of respect and
Yeah.
bring back a friendlier nature in politics, and that we're all, I know that times are hard for people, and I just think it's a good reminder that people who are in elected office are not going to work every day trying to make things worse for you. They
That's
are
right.
trying to make things better.
That's right.
And if you don't agree with their approach, totally fair.
Yeah.
And I think we just need to have a more respectful dialogue.
Yeah. I mean, there's roles for opposition because
Totally.
they are there to actually make things, hold governments to account, point out the things that they wouldn't necessarily agree with. That's good. We should do that.
And I want to know, because we're talking
Mhm.
about Canada,
Yeah.
like, I think the global economy is changing so much, and we're in a really unique time. I
Yeah.
think we're in a very past the pandemic to now. This is going to be a big time in the history books.
Yeah.
But I want to know, what do you see as Canada's greatest strengths and weaknesses?
Yeah. I had the privilege of being the international trade minister. And in fact, when I retired from politics just a few months ago, I left being the longest serving trade minister for
Oh,
Canada,
amazing.
which is great. And what that really meant was just that I had the opportunity to be in that file
Yeah.
for a period of time where I was able to work on behalf of Canada internationally for a number of years. Here's what I can absolutely say with confidence. Globally and countries around the world want to do business with Canada.
Yeah.
I also say that Canadians are the best traders in the world because we come from around the world.
Yeah.
We have a perspective and a uniqueness from the very diverse people we have in this country that can create those kinds of bridges to the different parts of the world where we do trade, where we want to do business with. And I think that is a huge advantage for us. And I think that that's an advantage that we could take even more advantage of in the years to come. We are in a very enviable position in Canada because currently we have access to over 65% of the world's economy through our existing trade agreements. So whether it was our government or governments before us, we've negotiated these really good trade agreements around the world, whether it's with the Asia Pacific in what is called the Comprehensive and Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership, CPTPP. So that's a trade agreement with countries like Japan and Singapore and Malaysia, New Zealand, Australia, Mexico. They're all in the CPTPP. That is a trading bloc of almost 500 million people, right? We have another
trillions of dollars, I'm sure.
in growing economies, important economies.
Yeah.
On the other side of the Atlantic, we have an agreement with the European Union through CETA, another hundreds of millions of customers and consumers in the European Union as well. We have a trading relationship with the United Kingdom. We trade with countries in South America and literally around the world. So I think that's such an advantage. And today, and And yes, our largest trading partner is the United States, and I believe that that will always continue to be the case.
Yeah.
But I do believe that with our other relationships and where the government is going, I certainly was doing that. The current government under Prime Minister Carney is certainly doing that and looking for export markets and developing those relationships in a much, uh, probably in a more intentional way, so that Canadians have those other markets to go to, right?
Right.
One of the last agreements that I negotiated was the agreement with Indonesia. It's the fourth most populous country in the world.
Wow.
It's over 250 million people
I didn't know
are
that.
in Indonesia, right? I mean, and this
Hugely
is
important.
huge. And that region of the world, Southeast Asia, is among the fastest growing in the world.
Yeah.
So what do we want Canadians to have access to? Those markets. We want to attract those investments to come to Canada. We are strong in energy. We are strong in technology. We are a agriculture superpower, right? I mean, and we have talent and skills of our people. We are the most educated people in the
Yeah.
OECD. So Canada has a lot to offer. And I think that our greatest weakness, it's our ambition.
Yeah.
We need to be more, we just need to continue to be ambitious and go for that gusto.
Hot to
And
trot,
and
as I would say.
yeah, and you know what? It
Be
does
bullish.
it takes work because if you have to travel across the ocean to countries that may not have the same language that you do, it's a culture that you may not be as familiar with, it just takes a little bit of time, right? I
Yeah.
mean, in the last 2 years of my ministerialship as the trade minister, I was in Asia 20 times.
Wow.
That's a lot of points.
Yeah.
A
Totally.
lot of air points.
Well, there's 12
right?
months in a year.
Right? I mean, yeah, but it was Canada showing up where Canada needed to show up.
Right.
Right? We launched an Indo-Pacific strategy. We want to make sure that these relationships are developed and nurtured. And when governments do that, we don't trade, we don't do business, but we create the right conditions for our businesses and our investors to go into those markets with confidence. And that's the job of government. So
Totally.
we have lots of strengths. And I would say that today, given the uncertainty around the world, I think we double down.
Yeah.
We double down on those relationships that are good relationships where they want to collaborate with Canada, and we go and do it, and we strengthen them.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we do.
So I want to note, in hearing about your experience as minister, as, trade minister, you're hustling every day. Like, I'm sure 7 to midnight, all around the clock.
Mhm.
But tell me about being a politician and then seeing, you're not doing a good job. You're not, good enough, or you're not doing what I want. Again, to this vitriolic kind of people who they may have fair criticisms of the job. You represent the government. I think towards the end of the Trudeau government, there was, a lot of people were unhappy.
Mhm.
So tell me how you continue to hustle despite when, feeling maybe that Canadians weren't behind you or your
So
government.
I always took this approach that to keep an open mind always and to listen. The message might be delivered in, cast around perhaps some negativity, but you have to really sort of think, is there a point, right?
Yeah.
So that you don't dismiss it off the bat,
Yeah, that's
despite
a good
the
thing.
fact that it's negative. You have to listen, right? After I've done the listening, you stay focused on the job at hand. I mean, I know Canadians elected me to represent their best interest.
Yeah.
I was given a mandate to grow those relationships in parts of the world that Canada needed to be at and to open as many doors as I possibly can. I needed to work with Canadian businesses and
Yeah.
listen to them about what their needs are, which is why I had many Team Canada trade missions where I had hundreds and hundreds of business. I used to say, it's great that a trade minister wants to go on a trade mission, but at the end of the day, it has to be useful, commercially
accomplishing?
useful for the businesses.
Yeah.
And the fact that I had hundreds and hundreds of businesses coming with me into these markets, from Australia to Singapore to Malaysia to the
Fantastic.
Philippines to Indonesia to Japan to England to France, like, it's really important, like to the CARICOM, right? To
Yeah.
Jamaica, to Guyana. It means that the work we were doing were squarely centered on helping Canadian businesses grow and to grow through
Thrive.
exports.
Yeah.
So I think I balanced to be sure that I listened, but I was not distracted by the
Stayed
noise.
focused
Yeah,
with the
I wasn't
task at
distracted by the
hand.
noise
Yeah.
because I had a job to do, and
Yeah.
Canadians expected me to do the job.
Yeah.
And the proof is in the pudding,
Exactly.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, I was given a mandate to increase our non-US exports by 50%. That was in 2018. That was in the mandate. By 2025, I was supposed to achieve that goal. We achieved that goal.
Amazing.
$291 billion. We achieved that goal. We were clear-eyed, we stayed focused, and we did the work.
Do you feel like, because you were elected in 2017,
Mhm.
is that right?
Yep.
2017 to 2025.
Yep.
Do you think those 8 years were like, did they go by in a snap?
Yes.
Okay. And did you like have no personal life at
Yes.
all? Okay.
Well, and the
and you're
reason
coming back in the mix and
Well,
taking some trips.
the
and-
reason I can say that now is because in the last many months, it's been wonderful. I've been traveling sort of personally. I've been seeing my friends. I can go to dinner with my friends and stay the entire dinner.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about
Phone.
the phone or needing to leave because I had to prepare the next
That's
day, or there was an
nice.
early flight the next day. So I'm much more present with both my friends and my family. And to your question, did it go by quickly? Yes, because today, as I see my friends, their kids are going to university
Right.
or they're starting high school. And I would just look at them. I said, did that happen? They said, well, welcome back. You've been away for 10 years.
Right.
So, and it did go by. It feels like just a flash. It really
Yeah.
does. Yeah.
That's wild. It's really insane how those experiences can just swing by in
Yeah.
an instant.
Yeah.
But it's cool. I think it goes to show that you had an amazing run
Yeah.
there, and despite any political differences, you can respect how hard you worked. I think a lot of people can respect how hard you worked, and me obviously, but I'm talking more about people who might not share your political
Yeah.
beliefs or might be on the other side of the aisle. I think again, we need to bring back this more respectful and acknowledge anyone who puts their name on a ballot and anyone who
Absolutely.
serves Canadians or their province or at any level,
Absolutely.
I think is a super
I agree.
admirable thing.
I agree. It is public service, and anyone who puts their names forward and anyone who works on behalf of the people who elect them at all levels, I agree with you. I start from the premise they do it for the purposes of serving, for service,
Yeah.
and for service of their community, for their country, for their province, and as such, we should find every way possible to collaborate as best as we can because the beneficiaries of this work should actually be Canadians.
Yes. And I think you've done a lot in creating opportunities and unlocking opportunities,
Mhm.
whether it's for Canadian businesses, whether it's for women entrepreneurs, whether it's for your constituents. Talk to me about the importance of, the impact of opening up those opportunities, whether it's a policy, a program, or a person,
Yeah.
at a micro or macro level.
I think everything that you do matters. So when I think about it from sort of a small act, and it's not a small act because to someone's life, it's really important. I mean, I think about the work that my team in my constituency office would do to help someone with their immigration application,
Right.
or a senior that is starting to, get on old age security and
Yeah.
needs some help doing that, or a business trying to apply for, a grant or a program, right? I mean, that's sort of day-to-day work that day-to-day work that you do, that matters a lot. Programs like the Canada Child Benefit that would help a family make the difference of being able to have their child have music lesson, buy
Right.
a winter coat. It was that social policy
Change their whole life.
changed their life.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden, this family now can actually just have that extra little bit to make ends meet just a little bit better in what is generally sort of tough circumstances of just, it's hard raising
Yes.
a family and, and making sure that you've got adequate housing and to make sure that if you're an immigrant, learning the language and getting a job. And so I think about policies like that one, Canada Child Benefit, which we introduced when we first got into government, and how impactful that was for people, or universal childcare. There are
Mhm.
so many women that I talk to who appreciate and acknowledge that having universal childcare, affordable childcare, makes all the difference between them having more productivity in their career, than had they not had that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so those are sort of big policies that government puts forward that have a tangible difference in someone's life. Like I remember doing a roundtable for seniors in my own riding to tell them how to access dental care. I literally I remember that roundtable like it was yesterday because it brought tears to my eyes. Some of those seniors had not seen a dentist
Right.
for decades, and they just and for and because they couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden they could. So those are sort of big policies that make a real difference to
Yeah.
to someone in their day-to-day life. And and so it sort of goes from the small but to the big, right? I mean, you do
Yes.
have to make and the narrative that often comes to these things is, "Oh my gosh, like, that's really expensive." But it's a choice that we make as Canadians, and that's I mean, you get elected on a mandate, and if that is what sort of Canadians elect you for, then you do your best to put it forward and with the goal of it making a difference in people's
Yeah, I
lives.
mean, just hearing about that and someone who's a marketer, I
Mhm.
think the governments, not just the federal government, provincial governments, they need to do a better marketing job,
Yes.
because I mean, with talking about the micro stories and outcome stories that led the government to make a certain decision. I think about my experience at TELUS and,
Mhm.
the TELUS Friendly Future Foundation. One of the things that struck me when I was starting out at the company was how much they've invested in helping youth aging out of
Yeah.
foster care.
Yeah.
And it's something I never ever thought of in my life.
Mhm.
Like I always acknowledge I've grown up with some great fortune, great
Mhm.
parents and who've instilled, the importance in giving back to me. But
Mhm.
I've never had to really worry about
Mhm.
things. And that's given me a huge leg up,
Mhm.
100%. That's why a lot of what I do is giving back to my
Mhm.
community and people who have been less fortunate than I am. But I had never even considered that someone is aging out of foster care and
Yeah.
then they're just off on their own,
Mhm.
on an island. They have no idea what to do. And TELUS had done so much to support that group,
Mhm.
but also the student bursary program at TELUS, which is
Yes.
the largest in the country.
Mhm.
It's like $50 million.
Mhm.
That has awarded thousands of students, truthfully, another chance.
Yes.
And giving students education is like some of these students had come up to me and been like, I would literally be on the streets
Yeah.
if not for the
Yeah.
Friendly Future Foundation.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show those smaller stories are what corporations, governments need to amplify. They need to do a better job marketing.
Well, Jay, I mean, I've certainly known you from before politics, but I for sure also know about your philanthropic work and your giving back. And thank you because
Oh,
I really do think that we all can do something. All of us
yes.
can do something, big or small, to make the lives of our friends, our neighbors, our communities better.
Yeah.
And it's remarkable the work that you do because I
Oh,
see it, right? I see the philanthropy work that you do. And I know where that philanthropic work goes. And it is to help those that really need that money to
mhm.
to pursue something that perhaps would have
I
eluded them had
People
they
just
not
need a
have it.
break.
They
Some people
totally
just
do.
need to get a
They
break.
absolutely do.
I feel
Yeah.
like, honestly, it's such a great privilege to be able to give back, and I don't have millions of dollars. I don't have lots and lots of money, but I do what I can and use the resources that I have at my
Yeah.
disposal.
Yeah.
But I wanna know, part of why I started this is also to link generations.
Mhm.
I have lots of friends that are my age. I have
Mhm.
lots of friends that are in their 40s, 50s. And what would your advice be to a young person who wants to do the things we're talking about, whether it's be engaged in public service, whether it's being engaged philanthropically, or just they're looking at someone like you who's had such an amazing career and is doing so many incredible things? What would your advice be to the
Get
younger
involved.
generation? Yeah.
Get involved. Um, there are many opportunities, and if you don't see them, search it out,
Yeah.
right? You can volunteer at your local food bank. You can volunteer at your local hospital. You can look at who is representing you at the municipal level or the provincial level or the federal level and volunteer there. If, I am a huge believer that um having people involved in civic life is what will make our country, what has made our country great, and what will continue to make our country great.
Yeah.
And the price of that is participation.
Yes.
And I know that it could be hard because you may not know where to start as a young person.
Yeah.
And it might also be really intimidating. I would say if you get a no, who cares?
Totally.
Move on to the next one.
Keep
right?
rolling.
I mean, keep going. Look for people who, I have people who reach out and they'll say, do you want to have a conversation? And my answer almost all the time, I mean, subject to timing, really,
availability
is always yes, right?
Well, people underestimate the openness.
More people say yes than you think.
100%.
Right?
And I mean, I have to give a shout out to Amanda.
Yes.
Because you're one of your best friends, Amanda Alvaro. She's a great friend of mine too, and an extraordinary person. But I think about our relationship, and it really stems from knowing her.
Yeah.
And I was like 16 or something when I met Amanda. And I straight up just, we had some small mutual connections, but I was like, will you get a coffee? Yeah, I was actually I was working for a political party in the summer after grade 11 in Toronto by myself and living by myself. And Amanda was walking out of the CBC. And I said, will you get a coffee with me? And she invited me to her office. And I was shocked. Like people who now being someone who works every day and has lots of jobs, even at the time, I think she had maybe just had her twins. So I can't even imagine someone like that or someone like you who is literally has the weight of the country on her shoulders. And now knowing how busy I am, it's important actually to lift while you climb.
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
really important.
And you can also, there are also people around you who are leaders who want to do more. And sometimes they just need, a little bit of a nudge, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and we can all do that. But for young people, don't be afraid to get involved. Find what you might really like. Find someone who you think, well, that person's kind of cool.
Yeah.
These days you can reach out easily because we're all very socially connected.
Yeah.
And just do that. And here's the thing, you can try something and also not like it. And then guess what? You can stop. So don't think that if you've gotten into something or you volunteer for something, you don't like it, that's just one and done. No, it's just it's part of the learning. It's like, okay, I didn't like that. So I'm going to go do something else. Right.
Totally. I think that's actually
the benefit of youth. And you know what? And don't be scared of failing. Failing is just learning. I think that a lot of times, and I know I was like that as a young person too, really sort of worried, how do I make sure I get this right? The answer is you don't have to always get it right.
Yes.
But you should try.
And that's the fun of life.
It is.
Is failing and succeeding.
Yes.
You have to have the ups and the downs.
Failing or telling friends the story of failing and having the ability to laugh about them years down the road.
Exactly. I love that. It's so important. That's such a great lesson. Okay, should we do some rapid fire?
Yes.
I'm interested.
Yep.
What's your favorite Toronto neighborhood?
Okay, so I don't have one. It's because I love the neighborhoods that make up Toronto, right? So the other day I had a friend visit and she's Canadian. She's a Quebecer, but she's been living in Singapore for many years. And she was here for a conference and we decided to just go for a walk in the morning. So we just walked along Queen Street and through our walk, we went through 3 different neighborhoods, very unique, very differently, right? And you think about it, it's like that along King Street. It's like that if you go up and down Yonge Street. It's like that if you're in Leslieville. It's like that if you're in, if you're uptown, you're midtown, right? Like there's so many neighborhoods. So I don't have one.
Love
in
them all.
These days, because I try to do 10,000 steps a day, 7 to 10,000, I will just get on the subway or I'll drive and I will just show up somewhere and then just take a walk.
It's the best.
Yep.
It's the best, like catharsis. I love Toronto so much. I've always said I feel like I love Toronto and Toronto loves me back.
Me too.
And it's such a special place.
But I was also the MP from Markham Thornhill. So guess what? I would go up there and I would walk in the Rouge Park, one of my most favorite places to just go and zen and walk. So Toronto and Markham and Thornhill, all good places.
I want to know the Mary Ng coffee order or tea order or where you're going to Starbucks. What are you getting?
I am not complicated like Amanda's coffee order, which I could never remember. But so I love tea,
Yeah.
and I learned how to drink coffee.
Okay.
So now,
Necessity.
so now I love coffee too. But I am really just straight up Americano with a little bit of milk.
Into the
That's it.
veins.
That's it. That's all I need.
What's the best part of traveling for work? Because my dad has been, he's just hit, I think, 4 million miles with Air Canada. So he's like, it's never fun,
Yeah.
but there are cool parts about it.
Yeah. So when I was traveling as the trade minister, what was wonderful about it was, frankly, the Canadian team all around the world. This is a shout out to
cool.
them. They are amazing. We have the best people as the face of Canada in our missions around the world. They're
Yeah.
just extraordinary. When I was traveling, a lot of it was long haul. So the truth, what I liked a lot about it was no one was talking to me on the
It's a
plane.
nice isolated time.
That's right. So I got to sleep
Yeah.
uninterrupted.
Love
And
that.
it was great.
Oh, it's great to be able to sleep on a
Yeah.
plane.
Yes.
Living in London, going back and
Mhm.
forth. I mean, first of all, seeing Canadians outside of Canada is so special.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's just a camaraderie, obviously, and nationalism. But then living in London, going the overnight flights, like I found I would rather fly from Vancouver
Yeah.
because it's 11
Yes.
hours and you
Yes.
can actually sleep a little bit. Flying from Toronto, it's like 7 hours and
I always said that.
it's too hard.
So often was that we would take the evening flight and I would get in the morning, but the minute I got there, I was on.
Work. Yeah.
So I always used to say, oh gosh, this is not enough sleep time, because it is actually the night sleep. So most of the time I would just get on the plane and I would say no meal, no nothing.
Yeah, that's the
And
way
just
to do it.
go straight to sleep so that I could be fresh the next day. But yeah, my favorite part was just
Team.
uninterrupted sleep.
What's a Canadian habit you can't shake?
Someone told me this
Bingo.
recently. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you're Canadian. You just said a."
I
And
love that.
and the apology, right?
Oh, totally.
You don't even notice you're doing it.
I
It is-
know.
It is the Canadian it's the Canadian in
It's
you.
the blood.
It
I feel like someone could like punch me in the face. I'd be like, I'm so sorry.
exactly, right?
And how you say it's sorry.
Yeah,
That's sorry.
yeah.
Tell me about a song. What's a good uplifting song? Pump up song before going to a trade meeting, or
Well, so that I don't know,
you're probably
but
just getting
the
talked
one
to.
right now, yes, but right now, it's because I just watched Demon Hunters recently.
Oh yes, this is
So,
like going
it
so
is-
viral.
It's unbelievable, right? And so it was really fun. I really enjoyed watching it. So their theme song, I know it's not called Up.
Yeah,
but
going
that's,
up.
Yes,
I
that's
know
exactly
it's literally
right.
blowing
That's it.
up.
Yeah. But
up.
yeah, exactly. Right. So I love that a lot.
A good one.
And but really, like, I'm an 80s kid. Like, I'm an 80s, 90s kid.
Love that.
So I work out to remixes of 80s and 90s music.
I love that. Tony
like
Braxton.
Depeche Mode,
Yeah.
Tony
I
Braxton,
love it.
Tears for Fears, Wham, right? I mean, I
Amazing.
literally did an entire workout to Wham and George
I'm a
Michael.
90s kid too, Mary. Well, okay. Tell me,
Yeah.
I mean, I've called this show In Good Company. I
Yeah.
feel like I've been in such great company, including yourself. But what does being in good company mean to you?
Being with good people, shared values to do purposeful things and impactful things. And Jay, thank you again for doing this podcast. I can't
for
wait
coming
to hear
on.
from others who you will have in this seat. But in good company is being like with someone like you. Like, look at
Yeah.
all the work you're doing, and you
Doing
work
good.
and it's doing good. It
Yeah.
really is, and there are more people doing that than we think.
I know.
And we should encourage
find
more
those
people to do more.
voices.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, this has been so nice, Mary. Thank you so much for joining me.
You're
You're just
welcome.
such a shining light,
Mm.
and I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, and thanks for doing this.
Love it.